Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. This is special tropical edition of MeteoMark's weather. This is for good reason. The big question that everybody has on their minds, where is Tropical Storm Lee going? Where is it going to go? Is it going to impact the east coast of the United States, southeast Canada, or could it actually go completely in a general different direction, more towards the west? We're going to get into all the details of that, break down the European GFS model, the steering currents, and how strong this storm could become. It could actually become the strongest hurricane of the 2023 hurricane season. Let's get into it. All right, so here's the satellite of Lee here, the infrared satellite. This storm really has a lot going for it. You can see the showers and thunderstorms wrapping perfectly. You know, most part around the center. There is more to the northwest here, but things are really firing, especially since the system is moving so quickly towards the west-northwest here. So as we go out in time, yeah, this system has a lot going for it. Weakening wind shear, and it's looking very impressive here on satellite. All right, so the model we're going to start off with here is the European model. So let's take a look here. As this storm continues to go in time, we look through the 7th. As we get into Thursday and Friday, this is becoming a hurricane. So we're getting a Category 1 hurricane out of this here onto the European model. Now, as we go into the weekend, this is where extreme strengthening really starts to occur. Now, as you can see, the European model taking a little bit to the right, just to the north of guidance here. Forecasting a stronger storm than our guidance is indicating it. Now, if you take a look at the steering currents here, we have high pressure across the North Atlantic. That is dominating the flow, continuing to push this towards the east. Now, watch what happens as we go in time here. Let me just zoom in just a tad here. You can see the Lesser Antilles here. The Leeward Islands. It is going to be really, really close. This cone has been shifting a little bit further to the south as that high pressure strengthens towards the north of the system. So I want you to stay tuned if you're especially in the Virgin Islands here, the northern Lesser Antilles, all the Leeward Islands here basically. Puerto Rico, still stay on alert here. It is possible this thing could just completely miss you, but there's still going to be some effects. Look at this. By the 9th here. This is getting well into the weekend. Saturday, this thing really strengthening really rapidly as we head towards September 11th here. And look at that. Yeah, this thing could really 145 mile per hour winds with max gust to 175. Yeah, it's possible this could overshoot forecasts here. But let's take a look. The European model, as we go out to the 13th, I caution you, this is out 216 hours. Look what starts to happen here. We start to get an area of low pressure across the east. Here is a trough. So this would be possibly the area of low pressure to help steer possibly the system up to the north. But the problem here is to the north, right over Newfoundland here and Nova Scotia, you essentially have an area of very big high pressure, and that's going to block the system. So what ends up winning out here? That is the big $1 million question. This high pressure stays entrenched. This trough looks like it's weakening, according to the European model, and sliding up to the northeast. Does this end up taking this system into a hard left turn right into the east coast, possibly the mid-Atlantic or the northeast? This is something we have to keep a really close eye on, and the European model is kind of suggesting that potentially on that run, because let me just run through that just one more time here on the European before we switch over to the GFS. See how it comes up like this on the 12th, the 13th? See how it starts to hook right at the last minute? It comes right up like this, and then it starts to do a hook towards the left. That is in response to this big high-pressure system and this low pressure here weakening and heading towards the northeast. All right, so flipping over to our GFS here, let's compare notes here to the European versus the GFS. So GFS really pushing this storm up towards Category 1 as well. You can see, up towards 90 miles an hour in the 7th. So this thing's really going to explode. One thing to note, too, this storm is really booking it here. Look at it. We start to see an eye here. Let's compare it here. There's North America, U.S. East Coast. Take a look at that. That is a well-defined eye as the system. Look at that. The high-pressure system is in the exact same location as the European model, maybe just a tad bit to the south. What implications could that have? Well, let's take a look. Here is that trough here. Showing up a little bit quicker here on the 10th. So let's take a look. Continue to go out in time here. That trough's lifting up towards the northeast. Here's another trough behind it on the 11th. Look at this buzzsaw. That is insane. That is crazy. This is going to be quite a monster of a hurricane as we continue. This is towards the 11th, so this is after this weekend. We get into Monday, September 11th. Look at this big buzzsaw. You can start to see what's going on here on the GFS. This is pretty interesting because the GFS is indicating that this high-pressure system is going to start to retreat towards the northeast. What does that open the door for? A stronger trough indicated by the GFS. This is quite a bit different. I know the details seem a little muddled here, but this actually is a bit different than the European model. Now, as we continue to go into the 14th, you can see what's happening here. Essentially, this high-pressure system is retreated all the way to the east. It's allowing this storm to come up like this, passing just east of the Bermuda area here. If we zoom in, you can see where Bermuda is. There's Hamilton, Bermuda. It's going to be really close, though. So either way you look at it, Bermuda is a big wild card. So is the U.S. East Coast. The GFS has this safely well, I don't want to say safely because look how close this is. And with this being such a big buzzsaw of a hurricane, look how close. You're going to be getting outer feeder bands, according to this, on the GFS model on the 14th at 8 p.m. So that's next Thursday. I do caution you, this is 222 hours out. This is anybody's game. If you take a look at this cone of uncertainty, essentially this cone of uncertainty, if you look at this, I know this is a rough sketch, but it pretty much includes a good part, pretty much the whole eastern part of North America here, from southeast Canada all the way to Florida. So, yeah, Florida, I could pretty much say you're probably safe at this point. It is one thing, though, that you got to know with these systems is they do things, ingredients and steering currents do change. So the most likely area I think that needs to be watched, especially, is from North Carolina up the Mid-Atlantic, Cape Cod, all the way up to Maine and Nova Scotia and maybe Newfoundland up here. So this area, definitely please keep an eye on. If you're in the southeast, please continue to stay tuned for this because this is still a system you need to watch, because when these systems become so majorly large like this, they start to, do their own thing, so to speak. They still have to adhere to all the steering currents. However, things get pretty interesting when they become this big. Look at this. This is towards the 14th at 11 a.m. And the GFS has the center safely passing well east of Cape Cod here in eastern Maine. But look at the moisture just funneling up. And I am concerned about this model run because look where it puts Nova Scotia in eastern Maine, in the worst part of this system. And look at this. I'm going to show you where the GFS makes landfall. This would literally put Halifax in the worst quadrant of this system. But don't get into details like this far out, because I can assure you this is going to bounce back and forth for some time, and we have to work out the details of the positioning of this trough in this high-pressure system. Those are the two wild cards. European and GFS are differing on this at the current moment, beyond 220 hours. And actually a bit before that, too, because if you start to go towards hour 162, it's actually starting about 168, 174 on both models, the positioning of the trough versus this retreating high-pressure system, whereas the European has this big high just literally centered with these troughs sliding up towards the northeast. Now, as we take a look at the rest of the tropics here, taking a look at our European model, it looks clear as a bell across parts of the Gulf of Mexico, although you get some showers into parts of Jamaica here. That's going to continue to head west into the 7th as well. So you get bouts of showers here from Jamaica into the Cayman Islands as we head over the next 24 to 48 hours. That's going to continue to head westward there. Bouts of this tropical moisture continue across the northern Caribbean through the 9th as we head into the weekend. Yeah, it looks a little drier here across parts of the Caribbean, but we can't rule out some showers spinning off from our big major Hurricane Lee up here. Look at that. We get some showers and thunder showers, especially here across Latin America as well as we continue in time. No major tropical waves, though, until we get to about the 15th here. Look at this feature. This might actually spin up towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, something we definitely need to keep an eye on here. And as we take a look at the rest of the tropics behind Lee here, what is this? This is Invest 96L here. Yeah, this system's going to be follow right on the heels here of essentially Lee here. And that's going to head out into the open Atlantic here. It's just going to be a fish storm, kind of, elongating out here. It kind of splits into two areas, one right behind Lee and then one up towards the Azores here. We'll have to see which one of these wins out. Maybe both of them will become a thing here. But as you can see, they just kind of meander for days out here as this big high pressure towards the north has them blocked. But look what starts to form behind that right where Lee developed here. This is by the 15th here at 8 a.m. Look at that. This could be our next big system to potentially cause some problems. Now, that system I was showing you behind Lee, not Invest 96L up here. That's just going to be a fading memory up here into the central and north Atlantic. But see the system that starts to form behind Lee? Here it is on the GFS. The same type of system that was showing up on the European model is showing up here on the GFS. You can see, look at this. Yeah, we could actually be looking at a tropical storm or maybe even a hurricane by September 18th. This is pretty far out, but wouldn't that be remarkable? This is a trend we need to keep an eye on. So thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our mid-layer dry air update. Is dry air going to be a major factor with Lee? Well, here's the deal. Look at that, 966 millibars by September 10th. Yeah, it is surrounded by dry air in here, but if you look, this system becoming so tightly wound up that this system doesn't look like it's going to be ingesting dry air through September 10th and the 11th. Look at that. That's 944 millibars there. That 936, 930, 928. Look at this. This is just north of Puerto Rico. This is insane here. 931. So yeah, it does weaken a bit as it heads towards the north, but still remaining a very formidable system surrounded by dry air to the west and south. But look at that. It's not having an impact on this system whatsoever. So sea surface temperature anomalies. This is essentially bathwater here. Look at this. This is in excess of 2, 3, 4, even 5 degrees above average. It is insane. This tropical storm Lee is going to have tremendous amount of heat energy to feed off of here. Now, there is some anomalies here below average off the U.S. East Coast due to previous storms. However, I don't think that's going to be too much of a factor since the system will already be well beyond, the threshold for major hurricane by then. All right, heading down to the tropics, to the Caribbean, Jamaica, Cayman Islands. There we go. So some rain through the end of the weekend to Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Let's get that out of the way there. So yeah, as we head, we're going to look at anywhere from about 30 to as much as 50 millimeters. That's getting up towards 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches of rain. So as we continue to go in time over the weekend, we're just going to add showers and thunderstorms on top of that. So we're adding, we're getting... If we go through the forecast period all the way through next week, you can see, look what's going on. So we're going to see anywhere from 40 to maybe, I think you'll get a bit more here, as much as 60 millimeters. So over the course of a week here, we're looking at about anywhere from 2, maybe 2.5 inches of rainfall from Jamaica to the Cayman Islands. Now, looking into Central America here, yeah, that's where you're just getting so much more, close to 100 millimeters there, 3.5, 4 inches into the yellow. Now, as we get into the Eastern Caribbean here, Puerto Rico, the Lesser Antilles, so far, yeah, you're going to get some outer bands from the system, Lee, next week. Look what's happens here. So, yeah, you're going to pick up 45, maybe 60 millimeters here from Puerto Rico down to the Virgin Islands. Definitely got to keep an eye on this. That's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain. But if this system were to track a bit further to the south, then yeah, there might be some more problems. I'm not expecting that at the moment, but we'll just have to see how big this area of high pressure is to the north. Now heading over to the Western Pacific, what do we have going on here? Tropical Depression Yun-Yeung here. Yeah, this system could continue to head towards the northeast. Let's just actually pull up our model run here on the European model. You see that system sliding up on the 7th and the 8th. So as we get into Thursday and Friday, this system's going to continue to head towards the northeast as it gets caught up in the westerlies. That's going to keep Japan here completely, for the most part, dry, except maybe coastal areas like Tokyo. You could get some showers, towards the coastline here. See, we get some of these showers could actually spin up and affect parts of coastal eastern Japan here. So that's something we got to keep an eye on. But for the most part, this system is going to remain a moderate to minimal tropical storm. On its heels, we have another area of low pressure. So here we go. As we continue in time, let's go back here. We'll take a look at the Philippines. So yeah, the Philippines, for the most part here, look pretty quiet currently. Now, what's going on up here? We did have a typhoon here, Haiku, that made landfall in the southern part of Taiwan. That is a fading memory as it heads inland towards China there. But look at here as we head towards the 9th, the 10th, the 11th. We start to see monsoon moisture creeping up here into the north central part of the Philippines. That's going to continue to be a problem as we go out in time here. Take a look at that. So, yeah, that is pretty interesting to take a look at. Lots of rain, but it doesn't look like there's any major areas of development, at least on the European model here. All right, so taking a look at the HRRR model here as we continue to go into the overnight hours into your Wednesday. Take a look at this. So we got a big thunderstorm complex towards 1 a.m. Wednesday morning. Another one up towards the Midwest here. Looking really clear as a bell across the east as it will be muggy and another sizzling day for your Wednesday here across the east. Now let's take a look as we continue to go in time. Where will those thunderstorm complexes by Wednesday afternoon lie? You can see there might actually be some strong thunderstorms here into parts, especially of eastern and southeastern Michigan. Maybe as far north here as northern Michigan as well, and a few showers here towards western Ohio and Indiana. This is a trend we're going to have to keep an eye on because some of these storms could pack a punch with damaging wind, large hail. You can see towards 4 p.m., these storms are actually just starting to line up here from Columbus, just east of Toledo, and over northeast of Detroit. Now, as we continue to go in the motion here, you can see towards 6 p.m., yeah, there could be some big, strong thunderstorms knocking on the door to Cleveland, Akron, down to Columbus, Ohio. More storms forming here into Michigan as well, so we could be looking at a potential severe weather day here. At least it'll cool it off a bit, but you don't want it at the expense of severe weather. Yeah, and by 7 p.m., look at this. As we head towards the Cleveland, Canton, Akron area, we could be seeing storms packing damaging wind, large hail, definitely some heavy downpours. Also concerned about extreme cloud to ground lightning with these storms. And look at as they head towards the northeast here. The first round heading into western Pennsylvania by 10 p.m. Look at, we got more storms firing here across parts of northeast Texas, all the way over towards central part of Alabama. So that's something you're going to have to keep an eye on. More storms just west of the nation's capital here towards West Virginia. Buffalo, New York, maybe getting on the act too. So how stormy of a night is it going to be as we head into Wednesday night into Thursday morning? Well, some of these storms could pack a punch into parts of western New York, western Pennsylvania towards 8 a.m. Maybe a strong cell towards Elmira, Ithaca, or Binghamton area as we head towards Thursday morning. So this is a trend we're going to have to keep an eye on as this vigorous trough pushes into some very juicy, warm, unstable air. And yeah, this could be setting us up for linear lines of showers and thunderstorms, some that could contain damaging wind and large hail. This is 2 p.m. on Thursday. I have plenty more weather here. Stay tuned for the rest of my video, but I have a quick announcement here from my affiliate. Take a look at this. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MediaMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. All right, so I wanted to show you the weather here for both Canada and the United States. As we go in time here, you can see, leaving off where our mesoscale model left off, you can see that trough kind of setting up here initially here across the eastern part of the United States. You can see showers and thunderstorms pushing into this very hot, humid, hazy air mass, unstable. Some strong thunderstorm potential as well. Definitely cooling it off. We get another system diving across the northern plains. Look at, though, into Canada. Most of Canada being controlled by this dual high pressure system. So, unfortunately, it's going to be drying out. We do have a low pressure here in eastern Canada. It is very weak, though, as it heads around this high pressure system that is steering Tropical Storm Lee, potentially hurricane by the 9th here. And as we continue to go in time, that high pressure builds across the eastern part of Canada. But look what starts to form. Here's that next trough. This is the trough that may potentially make a run towards the east coast. Could this actually steer Lee up the coast or out to sea or towards southeast Canada? That is the big wild card as we continue to go in time here. You know, the west remains pretty dry out here for the most part, but we got this high pressure system across eastern Canada. We got an area of low pressure here towards Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. So as we head towards the 13th and the 14th, showers and thunderstorms with our next area of low pressure here. There's that trough of low pressure, high pressure blocking up here into parts of Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. As we continue to go in time, that unsettled weather pushes towards the U.S. East Coast. You can see the European model making a run for the East Coast. This is towards the 14th here at 8 p.m. Will this be enough to steer our system out to sea? Well, that remains to be seen here because the European kind of washes this trough out, so to speak, and look at this high pressure. It's still a bit too far to the west here. Will it end up steering towards the hard left turn here, or will it actually head up towards southeast Canada or out to sea? That is the big question. Behind it, however, you start to see a much more unsettled weather pattern here across parts of central Canada. Look at this area of low pressure, a few areas of low pressure, and another storm here coming ashore over towards British Columbia. So if we take a look at rainfall totals here, let's take a look here as we go in time. You can see a majority of the rainfall here across the Ohio Valley into the northeast, even up into the upper Midwest here. Parts of the southeast, pretty dry, actually. That's kind of remarkable here through the weekend. But yeah, Ohio Valley into the northeast, anywhere from about a half to 3/4 of an inch, maybe locally higher to an inch plus in some of those heavier showers and thunderstorms. And look at that as we head over the weekend. We're looking at a pretty wet weekend here across parts of the northeast, where you get into these purple shadings, 1.5 to 2 inches plus in some of these heavier tropical downpours. And look at that. We just add on top that next week with that trough towards the 15th. Look at this. This could be the trough big enough potentially to move Lee maybe out to sea. We'll take a look here, but look at that. It's going to come at the cost of some pretty heavy rain up here to parts of the northeast, but it would be even worse if this system actually made landfall. So zooming into the northeast here, let's take a look at your rainfall amounts. This is through Thursday into Friday here. So yeah, you're getting some showers and thunderstorms throughout the Ohio Valley here. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 an inch on average here. And as we continue to go in time into the weekend, we just add on top of that here as that trough kicks in. We get those temperatures tumbling, which some of you are going to like because those 90s were with some pretty heavy dew points and humidity too. And look at that, up to 1 inch to 1.25 inches. But look at this later next week. The trend is for a tremendous amount of rain here with this trough. We'll have to see if this materializes, but if it does, there could be some flash flooding problems. So the big story is the heat. So as we go into Wednesday, there is some good news coming. Here it is, 60s and 70s in the northern plains, but we have to get through the next couple days. Look at this, 90s, lower to mid-90s here, the mid-Atlantic northeast. Look at that, 100 in Washington, D.C., 87 in Cleveland, so you might get some late-day strong thunderstorms in parts of the Ohio Valley. Look what's coming, though. This is Thursday. This is 60s, 70s, and some 80s. We're still holding on to 90s. We're going to reinforce mid to upper 90s here in the big cities of the Northeast. But look at 77 in Cleveland. The temperatures are going to be tumbling here as we head into Friday. This is some great news, especially if you're looking for some relief, 60s and 70s here. This even down into the upper 80s. It's still warm here on Friday along the east-northeast quarter. Still holding on to tremendous heat with that heat dome across Texas. But look at this. 70s. This is some great news. Much better sleeping weather as well. Look at this as we head into Sunday. 70s from the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, well into the Northeast here. And our last day here, Monday, look at this. 60s and 70s. You can't ask for much better for this time of year. And look at this. We start to get rid of some of these triple digits here across Texas. Extended outlook from hometown viewers. Binghamton to Scranton's Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Look at this. Yeah, another hot day. Hazy, hot, and humid Wednesday into Thursday. The two hottest days, Thursday and Wednesday, are likely to be hotter than the last couple days. The thing with Thursday, however, we get that front moving in from the west. There may be some scattered strong thunderstorms, especially afternoon, particularly between 3 and 8 p.m. We got to watch out for that. Into Thursday night as well, into Friday, showers and thunderstorms continuing. We could be looking at damaging wind, large hail, so watch out for that. It will be cooling down for the weekend. A lot more rain as well as we head into Saturday and then Sunday as well before drying out for next week. It's going to be much cooler as we head into the weekend into next week. As always, thanks for joining me for this edition of Media Marks Weather. Take a look at my Facebook page at Media Mark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern to follow the tropics. And if you want to hop over to my Twitter page, it's at Weather Eastern. It's MediaMark.com. Thanks for joining me. Question or comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when a video comes out.